So we've been following numerous stories for you throughout the course of the day. Many have had developments. So if you've just joined us, here's how far those stories have developed at lunchtime. We, of course, have Pule Letshwiti-Jones in Bloemfontein. Heidi Giokos is in Sandton for us, and Slindelo Masikane is here in our Johannesburg studios. Pule, let's start with you. Of course, suspended ANC Secretary General Magashule's corruption case being postponed to next year. That is a huge blow to his campaign for December.
Definitely, Masejo. Essentially, what this does is that it disturbs its move of having to, participate in the ANC's national December conference, which is highly expected to be, also contested by many figures within the organization as well, vying for the top 6 position. But quite importantly, so are some of the, sentiments that he shared after the court ruling, which said that this matter should be postponed to next year, the 20th of January, for the accused who wish to petition the SCA appeal, which in the beginning wanted to have the charges against them dropped, and in the bid for that actually was failing for the accused. That matter did fail and did not successfully go into their favor. But one must also pay attention to Magashule's remarks, saying that despite these proceedings, the December conference is a conference of branches, and that he will participate. If the branches want him, or rather nominate him as well, he will participate, saying that nothing can block him, despite the step-aside rule that we know as well will not rule into his favor because of the charges that stick to his figure as well in the organization. So it will be quite interesting to see how that unfolds. But for now, the state has also raised quite a lot of concerns, saying that these applications, which look to halt the proceedings here at the High Court, are disturbing and also are delaying the proceedings here at hand.
Those who want to privatize Eskom, I can assure you, Eskom will one day be privatized, and they make you hate Eskom and hate it and blackouts and hate it and say, no, this thing must actually be privatized. It's an intention. I don't know how sophisticated South Africans are. And these things are happening deliberately in the townships because they want people to lose hope in the ANC. In the township, electricity goes off 4 or 5 times, not in suburbs.
All right, and let's go to Heidi Giokos in Johannesburg. Magashule talking about the power crisis, Heidi, and you sat down with a former president about this issue. What did he say?
Yes, so we spoke to former President Kgalema Motlanthe about a number of issues, but of course top of the agenda and the biggest crisis at the moment in this country is our energy crisis, and how South Africans have been subjected to stage 6 and 5 load shedding, and there are fears that this could possibly get worse. The former president saying that the right people need to be brought into Eskom to actually deal with this. He spoke about the fact that South Africans are subjected to stage 2 load shedding, and it's almost as though we are told by Eskom that it is under control. And then a few days later, or a few hours later rather, we are subjected to stage 6 or 5 load shedding. There is a clear crisis here, and the right people need to be brought in to deal with this. The former president saying that South Africa also needs to tap into other sources of energy and not just be so dependent on coal-fired power stations, with the new power stations not operating optimally and to full capacity. For example, Kusile, we do know that certain units have been brought down or have never even been fully operational. So how do we depend on those power stations? He says we need to tap into gas, but I think the biggest issue here is that the former president saying not enough is being done to address the energy crisis, and it affects every aspect of life, Masejo, and surely this needs to be a crisis that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. Let's listen to former President Kgalema Motlanthe on the energy crisis.
Well, we have these old coal-fired power stations, and from time to time you hear that one unit is broken down or something like that. So they need to up maintenance and ensure that there's controlled maintenance where there's need for replacing parts, they should do that timelessly. But in order to be able to do that, they need proper engineers to be in charge, who will know what they're talking about, not just, from the perspective of a end consumer, but those who would be experts in generation and transmission. That's what is needed.
Right, and Slee, of course, you have the story that broke earlier today about Patriotic Alliance member and leader Bruce Nimmerhout being let go.
Yeah, he's officially a free man, Masego, and that is after the Roodepoort Magistrates Court delivered a judgment today saying that he, in fact, has no charges to answer to, that the state failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and that no reasonable court would actually find Nimmerhout guilty of the charges of terrorism as well as inciting public violence. And of course, this all stems back from those 2021 July unrests, and he was accused of creating and distributing a voice note that was encouraging people to loot malls as well as block highways. But Magistrate Ruby Matez saying that the quality of the evidence that was presented by the states just didn't meet the threshold in which she could actually find any reason why she should not grant the discharge application. And of course, a lot of jubilation in the courtroom after that judgment, but also the magistrate going into detail around the issues in which the state brought in terms of evidence that would actually conclusively identify Nimmerhout as the person in that voice note that went viral. Let's take a listen to that.
Now, I considered the contents of the different voice notes presented in evidence, and in my observation, the properties of differences between Exhibits 1, 2, and 3 includes that the accused's voice, as in Exhibits 2 and 3, is higher pitched as the voice in Exhibit 1, although generally, as testified by the state witnesses, both voices may be described as deep or coarse voices. There is further a marked difference, in my observation, in vocabulary choice considered Exhibit 2. There is a striking difference in pronunciation of particular words and phrases.
All right, those are reporters Pule Letshwiti-Jones, Heidi Giokos and Slindelo Masikane with a lunch hour update of your top stories today.